Get up, get down. 911, there's a joke in your town. All right, that was Flavor Flav, Chuck D, and it was Public Enemy. Okay. Now, people who remember this group know that they pushed a lot of buttons, and they made things very clear that they were unhappy with circumstances. Sometimes we have to make things very clear when we're not happy with different circumstances, Things happen, but we have to be clear in what we will allow to happen. You contact people and you contact them and you ask them for help. And when they're not able to serve you or to help your community, then what are their services rendering? Okay? We have Tri-Rail. Let's look at Tri-Rail. Tri-Rail is a train that goes from Mongolia Park, I believe, to Miami. This train services the people in the community, allowing them to travel. But you also have some women who are very concerned about this service. You would say that they're concerned because maybe they won't be able to utilize the services. Some people might say that these women are concerned because they have been tampered with. Some women go to a counselor and they don't realize that they share this one thing in common at first. They don't realize that the reason why they are the one thing that they share in common, is that they all traveled on this Tri-Rail train at odd hours of the night. Some of the women are stewardesses. Some of the women are air traffic controllers. Some of the women are even homeless. Some of the women, you have people from all sorts of walks of life who travel on this train. But what they did not realize and what they all shared in common is after a certain hour traveling on this train, their bodies were tampered with. There was these two engineers, very young engineers, so they looked young. One with locks in his hair, one Hispanic. And while traveling on this train, what they decided to do is they decided that perhaps they thought that the ride was getting boring. You see, when you are an engineer and you are controlling the train system, you have to walk through each train. You have to make sure that the train sounds, listening for the different sound effects, seeing that the train is running properly. And somehow, when this happened, I guess late at night, the last or second to last train, you shut the train down and you close the doors and you make sure you walk through the train to make sure that everyone is off the train. But these women went into counseling because they couldn't understand why their bodies were behaving as they were. They couldn't understand why it was that, there was one woman in particular whose husband used to ask if, he could move forward in certain acts. And she refused to allow him to do these things because she said, this is my personal body, and although we're married, I do not want you to do certain things to my body. Now, the very same husband was very upset because he realized that the very thing that his wife said that she was not allowing him to do, someone else did. They violated this woman. And while this woman was violated, she was very hurt when she went into counseling and found out that something was done to her body without her permission. You see, there were these acts that were being committed. Let's say the last stop, and apparently these women were carrying around water jugs or water bottles. And someone apparently slipped something into these women's bottles. And it left them they thought they were asleep. And they didn't understand that someone had slipped something into their drinks. So while they were waking up late and thinking that this was something that they had done because they were, didn't get enough rest, this was something that was put upon them, placed upon them. So again, all these women went into counseling trying to understand why their bodies were being, violated. One woman, or should I say a few of them, had gone to the gynecologist and found out that with x-rays that their bodies were no longer what they once were. And the women said that these are not acts that they've committed. They've not allowed anyone to tamper with their bodies. Some of them had not been active in years. So why is it that they would go to the gynecologist and for the gynecologist to say that their hymen had been compromised? The x-rays showed months prior that their bodies were untampered with. And then somehow all of them who shared this experience on the tri-rail, somehow they were having issues with going to the bathroom, some of them. Some of them trying to control some of their bodies and not being able to control them. Some of them not being able to control their bowel movements. Some of them not able to control their bodies to the capacity that they once were able to. They all went into this counseling and found out that all of them shared one thing in common. They had all traveled on tri-rail. Few of these women, should I say more than few, decided that they were going to go they were going to get a special service done where they would be unconscious, and the psychiatrist would guide them to finding out exactly what happened. And upon waking them up and letting them hear what they actually said, because the doctors or practitioners did not want to repeat what they knew had happened to them, that they had been violated. Once coming from this experience and listening to what they said that happened to them, one woman called the hotline number and asked for assistance. And the woman on the other line said that she would have to come in and tell exactly what happened. She'd have to write it down. And the woman said, why would I have to write something down that I wasn't clear on? She said, if you know that something happened to you, then you should be able to come down here. A lot of these women didn't realize that this violation had happened to them. They didn't realize it because they were given a certain substance placed into their drinks. Another woman said that a large guy who she chose not to speak to was talking amongst his friends and saying that he didn't understand why the woman didn't smile at him anymore. She seemed angry. He started feeling guilty because he thought she'd known what had happened to her. You see, these guys did not practice these behaviors all on their own. They actually asked for certain co-workers to participate. You see? Sometimes what we don't see or what we don't understand is that some people, perhaps their job was boring to them and they decided that they wanted to practice or go further and plot against innocent women. One girl was underage that this happened to. Sometimes when we look at the way in which things occur, women's bodies violated, and you go ahead and you think that you're contacting the right people. And when you contact these people and these people tell you, no, we need you to come down, we need you to write and report on it. You see, these women said that they did not realize that this had happened to them originally. They had to go into counseling and find out the hard way that these things happen to them. Why is it in our society do people feel that they have the right to violate other people? That they have the right to mistreat innocent women? With all that happened, now we know that some places are not so safe. When you go to travel, whether you are an international person going, whether you are visiting these lands, you need to make sure that you're going with someone else so that you are protected. These women, some of them did not realize that these acts actually occurred to them until they met with a practitioner. They didn't realize it because their bodies told them that they no longer could control their bodies. Why do we live in a society that men feel that they can do so much against women and get away with it? That is the question that we ask today. When the woman was called on the hotline number, the woman then called one of the other trained practitioners, a woman with silver or gray hair. And then they decided to change the schedule of these men so that these men did not get caught in violating these women. When do we find out that the truth can truly hurt innocent people when they are violated and nothing is done to fix the problem? That's the question that we have today. When do people get the answers to the questions that they need answered? When do people begin the reality check of realizing that you cannot just do whatever you choose to do and get away with it, regardless of who's in control? Because people have been calling different individuals and somehow the answers are still the same. No one has an answer. Now, when you call the hotline number, you contact the hotline in Miami, and the woman wants people to write it all down. But how do you write something down when you didn't even know it occurred in the beginning? Let us look at our societal problems and begin the process on fixing it. Because people, women, children, the innocence of an individual should be protected. Thank you.